In this video, I'm going to share 5 ways that you can not only survive, but thrive in a deflationary environment. So far in my inflation deflation playlist, I've explained what inflation and deflation are, why we're heading towards a massive debt deleveraging event, why we're currently in a deflationary environment, and why if we continue to head on our current path, the debt deleveraging will be deflationary. And then in my last video, I explained why the Federal Reserve is severely limited in its ability to create inflation. Now that I've explained why deflation is the biggest risk today, how can we ensure financial success in a deflationary environment and in the worst case, a deflationary collapse? Well, let's get straight into number 1. The first step you can take is to hold a high percentage of your investment portfolio in cash. Holding a high percentage of your net worth in cash is the easiest way to thrive in a deflationary environment. This is because deflation is a contraction in the supply of money. And so when there's less money to go around, or in this case, less dollars in the system, there becomes a big demand on dollars because of a dollar shortage. And so this basically boosts the relative value of dollars in this kind of environment. This is also why during recessions and deflation, we normally see a crash in asset prices. And that's because people are forced to sell their stocks or sell their real estate or commodities in order to acquire those much needed dollars. There are 2 really great advantages of holding a large cash position right now. And the first one is that you're preserving your capital and you're not putting it at risk trying to get a few percentage points in return while risking so much more. The second advantage is that you'll have cash on the sidelines ready to deploy when asset prices crash. Because in this case, you're able to buy so much more for your money and acquire assets that are valuable, that have intrinsic value for pennies on the dollar. Given this, holding a higher percentage of cash in your portfolio won't only give you more security and help you preserve capital during a time of systemic risk, but it will also give you more flexibility and will increase the ability for you to take advantage of the financial opportunities that are ahead. Step number 2, if you're going to have other active investments other than cash, make sure they are liquid. A liquid asset is one that's quickly and easily exchangeable for cash at current market prices. Examples of liquid assets include stocks, bonds, and cryptocurrencies. Again, things that can be quickly exchanged for cash at whatever the current price is at the time of liquidation. Examples of assets that are not liquid include real estate and collectibles like artwork and sports cards. Having a bunch of illiquid assets during times of high uncertainty is a big risk because let's say an emergency comes up and you need cash. Well, when you go to try to sell that illiquid asset, there's a high possibility that you're going to have a hard time selling it. And even if you are able to sell it, there's a high probability that you won't be able to get the maximum price or even the fair price for that asset because it takes time to find that particular buyer that will pay you the right price at the given time. This is why if you're going to have other assets in your active investment portfolio other than cash, you'd rather than be liquid because you're able to be more flexible and you're also able to adjust in a quicker manner when you get new information. To be clear, this step is most important to those that have a moderate to high percentage of illiquid assets making up their net worth and also have a relatively low amount of cash making up their net worth. Also, in regards to real estate, if you own your own home, then that's not a problem. Obviously, that's a necessary illiquid asset to have. But if you have additional real estate besides just your primary home, then if that real estate is income producing and is creating cash flow, then that's a big plus and will help negate the drawback of the fact that your real estate is illiquid. Step number 3 is to have as little debt as possible. Minimizing your exposure to debt is absolutely vital in surviving deflation. This is because as the relative value of the dollar goes up because there's a dollar shortage, The same goes for the relative value or burden of debt. This is why so many businesses go bankrupt during recessions and deflationary environments, because they're not able to access enough money in order to stay in business, because they're not able to meet their current liabilities. So now let's look at it from an individual's perspective. Let's say you work somewhere where you're making about $1,000 a week and you have $10,000 in debt. And let's say a recession hits and you lose your job. So now you go from making $1,000 a week to only making $500 a week from unemployment benefits. In this example, this person went from making 10% of their total outstanding debt per week to only making 5%. And this doesn't even include the ongoing expenditures that they have to get through, like rent expense, food, gas, clothing, and all the other essentials, utilities, and whatnot. And so this really, I think, illustrates why in a deflationary environment, debt becomes such a prevalent issue. Since having low, manageable levels of debt is such a crucial component in surviving and thriving in a deflationary environment, I'm going to put some resources down in the description below where you can read and watch some content on different strategies that can help you get rid of your debt. The fourth step is to find an alternate, reliable source of income. During these kinds of economic conditions, nothing is certain, and that especially goes for jobs. Having a recession-proof side hustle is a huge asset to have in any economic environment, especially in a deflationary one. Having income-producing side hustles can put extra money on the table, and in the event of job loss, can help you get by during tight financial conditions. The best part of a side hustle is that you are in control. And while you can't prevent mass layoffs, you can put yourself in a position to have a financial cushion and at least have an additional income stream. Step 5 is to minimize expenses and budget. While minimizing unnecessary and impulsive purchases is a good start, budgeting is super important because it helps you actually be in control of your money and understand where it's coming in and where it's going out. Creating a budget can help you better understand where you are financially, what your priorities are, and how you can improve and accomplish your goals. It can also help you detect potential pitfalls before they happen so you can plan in advance and be more proactive with your finances. I'm also going to put some additional resources on budgeting in the description below for those that haven't budgeted before and want to get started on the right foot. And lastly, here's a bonus tip on how you can thrive in a deflationary environment. Just subscribe to Money Digest with Abie Buttar and stay tuned for some videos coming soon where I'm going to be delving into the prospects of inflation and what I'm going to be keeping my eyes on as things progress. I'm also planning on doing a live stream where I can do a whole Q&A. You guys can ask your questions and I can share some of my thoughts and we can have a whole conversation on some of the important things that are impacting all of us. So I'm really looking forward to that. And until then, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you all next time.